Let's bring in pollster Justin Wallin. Justin, good morning to you. So we had a change of candidate on one side, 2 assassination attempts on the other, and it all comes down to today. The polls show that this is just too close to call. But you say there are some indicators that you're looking out for that could be a sign of things to come. So what are those?
Yeah, so when the polls, of course, which are the closest thing we have to a good indicator of what's going to happen, when they're this close, we have to look elsewhere. So there's a degrading degree of accuracy with these items, but they are telling. A couple of them are, first and foremost, there has been a wave in early voting from Republicans. This is unprecedented. It really has never happened before. I'm a California guy. We have early voting for a long, long time. The reality is Republicans just don't vote early, and they have. And in certain states, they've actually eclipsed Democratic voters. What's interesting to see here is that just going to be a full cannibalization of later voting trends, in which case it all nets out, basically zero. Or does this mean Republicans are actually more amped up, more energized? We're going to have to see how that plans out because we've never seen it before. The other two components, which I think are really, really telling, is we're starting to see, and we have seen, a significant weakening in certain demographics for the Harris campaign in favor of Trump. One of them is black men, which has gotten a lot of press, and I think reasonably so. The other, which is, I think, potentially more powerful across the board simply because the size of the shift in the demographic trend is amongst Latinos. And we're seeing a dramatic shift amongst Latinos who are less likely to vote for Harris, not to the point of majority, but these are iterative changes, and iterative changes win elections like this that are so tight.
Yeah, really great specifics there. Let's drill down even further. You mentioned Republicans. I want to drill down now to the early vote amongst Democrats in Pennsylvania. Our colleague Kayleigh McEnany had some math that says Trump's in a good position. Listen to this.
Donald Trump, there's no doubt, is in the best position he has ever been in. When you look at polls, he has a lead in 5 of the 7 battleground states, according to the Real Clear Politics average, all within the margin of error. Nate Cohn has affirmatively come out and said we have every reason to believe that the polling bias against Trump has not been corrected over the last 4 years. And then when I look at the early vote, I just checked the new returns out of Pennsylvania. 412,000 is what the Democrats have now. Most analysts say they would needed 415,000 to feel close, 420,000 to be comfortable. They are short of that.
Justin, what is your assessment of her math right there, specifically early Democrat vote in Pennsylvania?
I think she's right. That's exactly what we're looking towards in those early votes and those early numbers and those trends. I think that's one of the key indicators that suggests this may very well go towards Trump. And again, as Nate had mentioned and others mentioned, even at our very best, we are guessing here, but that's the world we live in. We world of uncertainty. We have to guess. And if it were my guess, I'd say that he wins the Electoral College.
Do you think we'll know who the next president is going to be by tonight? And if not, when?
That's a terrific question. I suspect so because of the rate of counting in those key races, which was mentioned earlier on this program, tends to be very quick. The challenge here is because we're at such a razor-thin margin, if those races are within 0.5%, it automatically triggers a recall. That's the point at which we won't know. So unfortunately, even that I can't say with certainty.
Should Republicans worry that their early vote success will cannibalize Election Day voting today?
Absolutely. That's the big question. And this is what makes this election so very, very interesting. There are trends that are occurring now that we've never seen before. So when we see this massive explosion, and it really is unprecedented, of Republicans voting early, does that mean that that's going to be a net increase of Republicans voting this cycle, which I suspect it will? Or does that simply mean actually it's a cannibalization and the proportions are the same? It's just when they're voting. We just don't know. There's no way to tell because it's never happened before.
Okay, well, there could be even more to celebrate or mourn, depending on the way things shake up. Because we're not just looking at the presidential race, of course, the balance of power in Congress with the House and Senate is also up for grabs. When it comes to the Senate, Democrats are vulnerable in West Virginia and Montana. So let's start with the Senate races and what you're watching out for there.
Yeah, those are the 2 races that I actually think are most likely to go towards Republicans. And as was mentioned earlier, if Trump wins the White House, Republicans really only need to win 1 race to take control of the Senate. If he loses, they need to take 2. West Virginia, I think, is the least questionable. I think that's very, very likely to go Republican. I think they have that one largely in the bag. Montana is more of a question. It's a toss-up. But I feel that's the most likely of all these different Senate races that are toss-ups to go towards Republicans. I think those are the two races that actually matter the most on the GOP side, and I think they're likely to go Republican, and Republicans are likely to take the Senate.
Okay, and really quickly, when it comes to the House, obviously Republicans have a very slim majority. Nobody knows that better than House Speaker Mike Johnson, who has traveled to 243 cities in 40 states campaigning. So what will the outcome of the House be when all's said and done?
Very, very, very difficult to tell. Much more difficult to tell than the Senate. I do think Republicans will retain control, mainly because I think those blue states, New York and California, where there's some hotly contested races, I actually think those will retain their GOP seats. And we're going to pick up one seat. The Republicans will pick up one seat in Southern California, Katie Porter's old district. I think that's very likely to turn Republican. I do think it'll be slim, but I think Republicans will retain control of the House.
It's a real interesting prediction because Katie Porter, remember, she ran for Senate as a Democrat. The fact that her seat could go Republican is interesting. Justin Wallin, way to get us kicked off here today. We appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.